Hello, everybody. Patrick here, CG Evolution. I'm so excited to have my next guest on the show. If you've never heard of Randy Sutton, you must be living under a rock. He's considered the voice of American law enforcement, veteran police officer, 34 years, uh, founded the Wounded Blue. He's going to talk about that. Randy, welcome, brother. Thank you for being here.
It is a pleasure. I'm so glad we got to connect.
Yeah, brother. Before we get into the meat of what you're doing for our first responders, brave men and women serving every day, I always like to ask, how in the heck did you get into law enforcement, brother? What was the
You, you
catalyst?
know, I got to tell you, first of all, I have to introduce my co-host.
What is that? Is that a is it what is that looks like a
That's a big old cat, Maine Coon cat.
Maine
That's what that
Coon?
is.
That
Yep.
thing's like a damn wolf.
Yeah, I have six of them floating around here.
They get big, don't they? How much
I'm the
they?
crazy cat man. I got to warn you right now. No, I actually have a pretty funny story
All
about
right, I
how
want
I
to hear
became
it.
a
I want to hear
cop.
it.
Okay, so I actually always knew I wanted to be a cop from the time I was a little kid.
Yeah.
My grandfather was a deputy sheriff in Washington State who was actually shot by a poacher of all things,
Oh, geez.
and he had a big old shotgun blast scar in his stomach, which he showed me every time we got together, and I was fascinated by it and the stories of him being a deputy. And then both of my parents were court reporters, so I got to listen to tableside conversations about all the crazy trials and murders and everything else. So
Yeah.
I always knew that I wanted to be a cop. So I get to high school, and I was in the very liberal community of Princeton, New Jersey. That's where I grew up. And I always despised bullies. And we had a bunch of them. So whenever somebody would get their ass kicked by a bully, I would exact revenge.
Love it.
And one of my best and so I got thrown out of high school a few times. And every time I got thrown out of high school, every time I got suspended, the principal would bring me into the office and call my mother and she'd have to come pick me up.
Randy, you're back.
I'm ready. But here's the funny thing. He knew that every time I was in a fight, it was to defend someone else.
Yeah.
So I actually always had this respect from him. So it's one occasion, um, a very very close friend of mine who never bothered another human being, big kid, shy, was in the lunchroom. A bunch of gangbangers just surrounded him and put him in the hospital. And they knew I was going to come looking for him. So they proactively found me first, and
Wow.
they cornered me in a stairwell, and the fight was on, and it was a little lopsided for sure, but I gave as good as I could. And who do you think they threw out of school?
They threw you out of school again?
Me. So I'm in the principal's office. He's calling my mother, and I'm just sitting there and just shooting the shit with him. And he gets a phone call, and I can tell by the phone conversation that he's having, it's with the chief of police of Princeton, very small community, 32 cops, because every year they would hire a an intern or a cadet, as they called us, um, from the high school, junior in high school. So I could tell that that conversation was about choosing the next cadet for this year. And I'm listening, I'm going,
Hey, over here.
hey, right here. And the principal got this look on his face and he got this smile and he said, Chief, I think I have the perfect guy for you.
Wow.
And so that's how I got hired as a cadet, which was basically go make the coffee, answer the phones for the police, and basically be a gopher so you can get to know the cops and know what police do and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
know the operations and stuff.
And from that, From that, I actually, through a very strange set of circumstances, joined the Princeton Police Department 2 years later.
Now, how long did you spend in Princeton before you moved out west?
So I did 10 years as a cop in Princeton. I did 6 years on patrol and then 4 years as a detective. And like I said, we were a small agency,
Yeah.
32 cops in the university town of Princeton. So I got to tell you, man, I was bored to death. It was I had some fun. I'm not going to say that there wasn't any fun, but I did. But I wasn't being fulfilled as far as policing goes.
Hmm.
So I started looking for action. Where do you go for action?
Vegas, baby.
Vegas, baby. So I came out here and I tested. I had to go through the whole process all over again, even though I was a cop for 10 years. I was actually halfway to retirement when I left. And all my contemporaries said, Randy, you're out of your mind. What are you doing? I'm at the top of my pay scale. I'm in an enviable job, but I got to tell you, I just couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
So I came out here, took the test, got hired, started all over again, went through the academy again, and I never looked back. It was the best decision I ever made.
And sometimes you got to step down to step back up, you
You
know?
know what? I would never have fulfilled um, what I hoped to be had I not come out here and taken that chance.
Absolutely. And
Yeah,
isn't it amazing, Randy, how you could have very well listened to those people that were saying, "What the hell, man? You're crazy." But
well,
you
yeah,
listened to your gut, and your gut brought you, and it actually made you who you are today.
100%,
It's amazing.
100%.
What you're Randy, like I said at the beginning, I mean, you are the voice of law enforcement. You are a prolific writer, author, you're on the news. You have your finger on the pulse of American law enforcement. What do you think? How do you think? Because I know you do a lot with helping first responders, especially law enforcement. We'll get into that in a minute. But as far as mental health, wellness, do you think we're getting better as far as a community of law enforcement, first responders, in terms of helping and assisting our brave men and women who serve? Do you think we're making any headway with this?
I do. I
Okay.
really, really do. I mean, I look back on the decades that I was, behind the badge. I started, I started in the '70s. Okay, we still had wheel guns when I became a cop, and the thought of asking for help with stuff that you were dealing with in your head, you
That
better
was
not
unheard
know.
of.
Unheard of. Unheard of. That was in the suck it up buttercup generation. If
Oh,
you,
I was in that generation. I did 23 years in Colorado, and I
yeah,
remember I had an old Vietnam vet who was an FTO,
yes,
and he didn't even wear a
yes,
vest.
yes, correct. And so you just didn't you. Well, there was a bunch of reasons you didn't go ask for help. One was fear of
Yeah,
ostracization. Let me try that again. Ostracization
yeah,
by your contemporaries. But you were also, if you said that you were having issues, they'd fire you.
yeah.
I mean, there was no asking for help.
And you were deemed as weak.
Yes, you were, yeah, exactly, exactly. So, where we are today is heads and shoulders above, quote, the good old days, unquote. Now, that being said, even in the last 5 years, we've seen a sea change.
Yeah,
We're much more, and I think part of that is the new generation is much more open to asking for help. Um, but at the same time, you know, departments are having to come to the realization that they have to step in and they have to do something.
hmm
And but it is far, far from being a perfect situation.
Yeah.
There are still many, many agencies that will ostracize you, that will come after you, that will degrade you. And there is a major fear by cops, even in the agencies that are progressive, even though I don't really like that word, um, because there's still a huge distrust between line officers and administrations.
Absolutely. And I hear
So
a lot of that,
for a very good reason in many occasions.
yeah, I was going to agency betrayal, whatever you want to call it, command betrayal. And I hear a lot of that where, rank and file, the people on the street, feel not in every agency, should have prefaced with that,
Sure.
but some agencies, some of these young officers and even veteran officers feel betrayed, because they don't, nobody has their back. And
Well,
go ahead.
what happened to me, the impetus to create the Wounded Blue is a perfect illustration
Mhm.
of that. And I don't even know if you're familiar with my story,
I
but
am a little bit, but I want you to tell the listeners, brother.
so I loved being a cop. I truly did. I did 34 years, almost 34 years. I did not intend to retire when I did. I was a field lieutenant with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department on the graveyard shift. I spent my entire lieutenant's career on graves because in Vegas,
That's where the
that's
action
where the
is.
shit happens,
That's where the
right?
action is.
So I loved doing what I did. But of course, as you know, I've done a lot of other things along the way, which if I had not been on Cops so many times, if I had not written so many books, if I had not been in the movies, if I had not been a police trainer around the nation,
Hmm.
then the destiny that eventually overtook me would never have happened. But what happened to end my police career was that I had a stroke in my police car.
Hmm.
And it was the most frightening moment of my life. Driving down Las Vegas Boulevard, I was the watch commander that night. I took a young police officer with me so I could get to know my people whenever I was watch commander. So this young guy and I were driving down 2:30 in the morning in front of Bally's Hotel, talking like I'm talking to you. And suddenly I started talking slower. And I
Jeez.
literally felt my brain slowing down. And I knew I was having a stroke. And I stopped the police car right in the middle of the road, told this poor kid, get me medical, I'm having a stroke. And he's looking at me like,
What the hell?
is this a test? Right?
Did I pass this test?
I've heard about Sutton. Um, got out of the car to go around to the passenger side in case he needed to get me to the hospital. And I started speaking gibberish.
Jesus.
And I knew I was speaking gibberish, but I couldn't control it.
Yeah.
And then I lost the ability to speak and move altogether and crumpled to the pavement. Absolutely helpless, unable to move, unable to speak, unable to communicate as tourists are walking by me with their phones taking my picture.
Jesus.
Yeah, I know. And I heard the sirens coming. And anybody that's been a cop, that feeling of the sirens coming is a big relief.
Yeah.
Even though they couldn't do anything for me because I was having a stroke. But it's still just the feeling of of
Mentally,
of
yeah.
of my of my brothers and sisters coming to help.
Hmm.
Um, they got there, they surrounded me, and this is my last on duty memory. They're surrounding me in a protective ring, waiting for the ambulance to get there. And I hear one of my cops say, "If you don't get that camera out of his face, I'm going to take it off you and stick it up your ass."
Some asshole that was stopping by taking pictures of you.
And I remember thinking, that's the Metro I know and love.
Yeah. Oh my
But
God.
what happened next was absolutely devastating, and that was that my own department turned its back on me. Said, "We're not paying your medical bills. We're not giving you your disability benefits. See ya." And I was like,
Why,
what do you,
Randy?
I said, what do you mean? You have to. It's the law. It's very clear. Yeah, will make us. Yeah, I should tell you this, that 3 weeks before I had this stroke, my mother died in my arms after a
Oh,
protracted illness.
oh, Jesus.
2 months before that, I was involved in a fatal shooting. Another one. So there was a lot going on in my
Yeah,
brain,
absolutely.
There was a lot of stress going on. But they found out I had a serious heart condition, and that's what caused the stroke. And it's very clearly a workers' compensation injury. And then
Absolutely.
when they tell me we're not paying your medical bills, you have to make us. I had to get an attorney. I went to go see the sheriff who I'd served with for 24 years, who I was friendly with. And I said, Sheriff, how do you treat me like this? And he looked me dead in the eye. He said, Randy, this isn't personal, man. Just business.
Just business.
And I came to find out that he was telling me the truth. See, I was no longer of use to the police department. I was now a financial liability. So they fought me. They spent tens of thousands of dollars of taxpayers' money to fight me going through the administrative court system to get them to pay my medical bills. And I'm trying to figure out, why would they do that? And in those words that the sheriff told me, see, they knew it would take well over a year for me to be successful. They knew I was going to beat him, but they also knew it would take over a year.
They wanted to try to bankrupt you, probably.
No, they were hoping I would die.
Oh, jeez.
It's a harsh reality, isn't it?
Oh, man.
The department that I served for 24 years, that I almost gave my life for, preferred that I would die as opposed to pay my medical bills and give me my little shitty disability pension.
Unbelievable.
So that's what happened to me, and I'm going, it was very dark times. Very dark times. I mean, I got to tell you, I went to some very dark places.
Oh, I can't imagine, brother.
The feeling of abandonment, the feeling of being alone, it was devastating. Well, then, because of all those other things that I've done over the years, cops started reaching out to me on Facebook, of all places. Randy, I know you don't know me, but I was a cop and I was shot in the line of duty, and my chief never even visited me at the hospital, and they've thrown me away. Randy, I was paralyzed in a accident where my patrol car was hit by a drunk driver, and they're not paying my bills. Randy, I mean, one after another from all over the country. And every one of these communications ended with the same thing. I feel abandoned. I feel alone. And then the worst was, I wish I'd never survived that night.
Jesus.
And I went, oh my God, this isn't me. This is happening all over the nation. And I looked at, if you die in the line of duty, there's all kinds of benefits, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You have the incredible charitable organization, Concerns of Police Survivors. They'll stand by you and by your family for the rest of their lives. But I went looking for resources for these injured men and women, and it didn't exist. Well, it sure as hell does now.
I was going to say, brother.
And we are the Wounded Blue.
Yeah.
We are the National Assistance and Support Organization for Injured and Disabled Officers. We have helped more than 15,000. You heard that number right. 15,000 cops
And growing.
suffering from either physical or psychological and emotional injuries.
And you're growing.
And we're growing. Listen, this last weekend, I just got back yesterday from bringing my team to a police organization in trouble because of the incredible amount of issues that that they have had to face. The unlawful will eventually be deemed an unlawful, but certainly immoral prosecution of one of their officers for manslaughter on a perfectly justifiable shooting. Demoralizing to the department. Couple months before that, the murder of one of their cops. Brutal, brutal murder. And then the suicide of another cop. And they are emotionally, they're just beat down. And the chief, who I have nothing but respect for, said, "My guys are in trouble. Can you help us?" And I brought an entire team down there, and we spent the last 3 days working from morning till night to provide support in a lot of different ways for these men and women.
It's amazing,
And
brother.
and I'm telling you, it is going to make a huge difference in that agency and to those people. So that's what we do.
It's amazing.
We we're touching lives, man.
Well, you're touching lives, you're helping lives. I got to be honest with you, Randy. There is not a cop or a first responder, even though I'm retired. You know what I do. I work in behavioral health at Shatterproof. There's not a cop that I know that has never heard of the Wounded Blue. I've yet to meet one, and that's not. I'm not bullshitting you. I mean, people. You know, when you talk about organizations that do good and they're out there helping first responders and first responder families, cops, Wounded Blue is always up there, which is
Well,
huge.
there's not enough people that do know about us because I unfortunately there's a lot of men and women out there in need of peer support, which is our major function, um, that don't know about us, and that's constantly on my mind. I am always out um, doing podcasts, doing news interviews. So, I don't get paid for any of the news interviews I do. I do them on Fox, I do them on
I know I've
Newsmax,
seen
on
you.
America. But here's my deal with them. I don't take any money personally, just like I don't take any money as the executive of the organization. I live on my pension. I take no money from this organization. And my deal with these news outlets is you just introduced me as retired police lieutenant and founder of the Wounded Blue. And when I can, you let me talk about the Wounded Blue. And that is how I try to get the word out as much as humanly possible so that these men and women do know about us.
Well, and it's first of all, brother. Thank God you're alive. I mean, you went through. I can't imagine what you went through. Your life's fucking flashing before your eyes. You got your brothers or sisters surrounding you, protecting you. So it's not like you're some guy, I mean, who just started, organization. Obviously, you were a cop and you went through a harrowing ordeal. So you do take it personally. I can see that.
Absolutely.
You should.
Absolutely, I
I
do.
mean, you see these cops all around the nation that are getting shit on. Not every cop, it's a chunk of them. And so that's what makes your organization, you as an individual, more powerful. Is you've lived through it. You can speak to it. You can sit next to a cop who's struggling, agency betrayal, whatever, and say, I've been there.
Well, not only can I say that I've been there, but my entire team is
Yes.
made up of cops who have been shot or stabbed or beaten or run over or face serious post-traumatic stress and come out on the other side, or their spouses.
Yeah.
Because remember, when cops are hurting, who else is hurting? Their
Yeah. Their
families.
families.
So we provide the men and women who are peer team members, we call ourselves peer team advocates, are the most, to me, they're the heroes. I mean, I have officers who've been blinded, officers who are in wheelchairs, officers who have faced devastating injuries, and yet they want to continue to serve. And they do it in amazing ways
Mm-hmm.
by being a member of the peer team and talking to others who are facing that darkness.
Yeah.
They're here. I listen. My people are the heroes. My peer team are the heroes. They are changing lives. They're saving lives. I see it every single day, and I could not be more proud of the people that I work alongside.
Amen. But you're a hero too, brother. You started it all, my friend. You started it all. In any way this show, I can help spread the word about Wounded Blue, you let me know because you have a hell of an organization and you're touching and you're helping so many tens and thousands of first responders out there that need help. So
And
thank you, brother.
here's the thing. Um, Peer support is one thing, right? Absolutely essential. But there are many people who have been so damaged. They're facing addiction. They're facing serious PTS problems. And that is why we work with organizations like Shatterproof.
Yeah.
That's why partnering with and Shatterproof does amazing work.
Mm-hmm.
So when we come across people that need a lot more than we can offer, we partner with organizations that can provide their services so that because we're all of the same we all have the same goal: heal those men and women, get them back to work, get them back to their lives. And that's what we do.
Amen, brother. As we wrap up, my friend, if people want to find you and your great organization, where do they go?
TheWoundedBlue.org. That's TheWoundedBlue.org. And let me say one thing before
Go
we
ahead, brother.
say
Go ahead.
adios. In September, September 22nd through the 25th, will be the fifth annual National Law Enforcement Survival Summit, which is our signature training program in Las Vegas at the fabulous Palace Station Hotel.
Ever,
This is,
go
if
ahead.
I could push a button and I could get every cop in America to come to this, we would see a sea change in the emotional and mental health of American law enforcement because this program is like no other. Some of the most incredible speakers in the country, every aspect of surviving a law enforcement career, physically, emotionally, spiritually, relationships, financially. It is, I mean, I got to tell you, it's so powerful. We've had cops stand up and say, if it weren't for this conference, I was going to kill myself.
Yeah.
So
That's the
I
impact you're
urge
making.
every cop in America who's listening to your program, go to thewoundedblue.org, check out the National Law Enforcement Survival Summit, and get your ass to Las Vegas September 22nd through the 25th.
Amen, brother. And the links for the listeners out there, links are going to be in the show notes. So you can go to the show's show notes. Everything's going to be linked up. Randy, you are amazing, my friend. Thank you so much. I know you're a busy man all over the place. Thank you so much, my friend, taking the time to come on the show. God bless you, brother. You're doing great work, man. And
It's
please
my
stay
pleasure,
safe.
and I really appreciate you having me on.
All right, brother. Take care.
You too.